I'm feeling very wholesome, but number of lovely faces that I have in front of me. And this is not to take anything out from anybody who's in the chat. I was going to say hi in this session, who we cannot see, but you can show yourself with your favorite gift of choice. I already asked that. So welcome, everyone. Shower us with gifts. We will shower you with love and hopefully lots of things to learn today and lots of things to think about and reflection points. My name is Fab. I'm the founder of Alt Marketing School and hopefully your new marketing BFF. I am here with our friends at Planoly, represented by the Medin Reza, but there's also somebody else in the chat. So if you're joining us live, you might see them actually, answering any questions and also hyping us up along the way. We also have some incredible friends of Alt Marketing School joining us today. We have our teacher, Ren, and also the amazing graduates, Vanessa and Rochelle. Yes, please do use reactions to say hi. By the way, reactions are there to be used, so I love this. And I'll get everybody to introduce themselves. I just wanted to say hello. This is Hermeet, is maybe a tool that not a lot of us have used, but I'll make sure that I guide you through some of the things that we can do. And obviously, everything happens in here. So if you have any questions, if you want to share in the chat, Steph from the Alt Marketing team is here. And as I said, there's also people from Planoly as well here to stand on the hype. Now we have a lot to cover in less than an hour. So hello, everyone. If you want to say hi, oh yes. I like that my speakers are the ones that are really into their gifts. Thank you, everybody, for starting off well, everything. And hello, Angela, as well. Amazing. If you want to say hi and obviously where you're tuning in from, this is awesome as well. I love that Kimberly's giving us some good vibes with friends as well. Danielle from Planoly is here. I spotted you, Danielle. Hello. So welcome, everyone. So we are here because I wanted to bring incredible people together to talk about why marketing should be more inclusive, more accessible, more fun, and more impactful. Before I get my lovely speakers to introduce themselves, we are Alt Marketing School, all about marketing to hearts, not to brains. And we just wanted to start this conversation and continue this conversation. And hopefully this is the first of many conversations that we can have about the things that we can do better or the things that we can help each others with. So take this as a chance to learn something new. And even if you just implement one new thing today or tomorrow, then, you're starting that journey of doing things differently, which is what we want. So thank you for being here. As a chair, I will now pass the chair like musical chairs, if anybody ever played it. But that sounds a bit threatening. To Reza, just because you are literally next to me. So I'll let you introduce yourself and I will, let you say hi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fab, and the rest of the speakers for joining. I'm really excited to connect and have this virtual panel happen. I chatted with Fab a few months back from Alt Marketing School, and I'm incredibly excited that we got this up and running. My name is Reza Moreno. I am the brand marketing manager at Planoly. I'm based in Austin. Our team's based in Austin, but our users are based all over the world. It's a social content planner. If you haven't heard of it, please check us out. I'm really excited to chat more with the rest of the speakers here. And also, I run a sustainability magazine on the side, so kind of run social media content on that end too. So I'm excited to get into it with y'all in a bit.
Oh, thank you so much. And we already got some love for Planoly as well. So thank you, Sadia, for sharing the love too. Yeah, Planoly. Now, next up on my screen is the fantastic Vanessa. So I will pass the baton of speech to you. Hello.
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited. My name is Vanessa. I'm a graduate of Alt Marketing School, but I'm also the founder and CEO of Girls Talk. And what we do is we connect our community of women. They're based in 37 countries to opportunities. So we're all about getting women through the doors in sectors that are very male dominated. So we work a lot with tech companies and firms in the financial services to connect them to female talent. We run events like the Black Girls Tech Summit. We run Black Girls in Finance and a lot of accelerator programs that help upskill women and girls. And my background, actually, I've been in diversity and inclusion, so I'm really passionate about this topic for over 16 years. I previously worked in the financial services, and then I left my job 2 years ago to focus on Girls Talk full time. So I'm really, really excited for this discussion.
Thank you so much. And yes, keep the reactions coming, everyone. It's a nice way to say welcome to our lovely speakers. So we massively appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, Ren, you are the next on my screen because I'm going all the way through. So hello and welcome.
Hi. Firstly, I just have to say I am so happy to be on the panel with these incredible people. My name is Ren. I'm a lecturer kind of as part of the alt marketing school. So anybody who's been on that will recognize me. But what I do in the daytime, I'm a senior strategy consultant at Revolt. We're based in London. We're a purpose agency that essentially helps brands and businesses identify their purpose and communicate it to the external world. So do a lot of stuff in advertising. I work with a lot of my clients to create more inclusive marketing content as well as more sustainable marketing content. But one of my big passions is DEI. I've been kind of championing it for the last 6-7 years now. Hate to do the maths, but yeah, I'm just so excited to start to talk about some of the practical things that people can start putting in place.
Thank you. And last but not least, there's a little bit of love. Last but not least, we have my dear Rochelle. Hello.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. Hi, Fab. Thank you, Fab, sorry. So my name is Rochelle. I am Rochelle Robertson. I am also a graduate from the Alt Marketing School. And I'm the founder of a platform called Ting, which is essentially a personal and professional development platform for people from intersectional backgrounds all around the UK. And what we do is that we connect people to opportunities within the creative industry and in whatever form that looks like. So there's lots of different programs that we run. And in my 9-to-5 life, I am a people and culture lead for a small social media marketing agency. So this has been really this is interesting for me because even as essentially the HR person, I do kind of get involved in some of the strategy when it comes to talking to people online. I kind of like poke my nose in. So it's not my role, but I absolutely do have some opinions on kind of like how we can do that best.
Fantastic. Now, can everybody be a peach and give us some hearts just to kind of warm us up to the amazing speakers as well? Oh, look at that. I like when my people give us little hearts. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, we are about to get started. So I'm actually going to look professional and get my iPad on. Hopefully. Look at that. The Italian in me comes out and I get really handsy. So if my hands start moving, that is because I'm excited. But so I'm going to actually start with Rochelle, if that's okay. Oh, there's a lot of hearts. And then we're going to go back up with my first question that I have here. And I absolutely love this because I genuinely love to start talking about strategy because I think it can really help us also understanding how to create the foundations. So what would be some strategies or one strategy that you use or you would recommend to make sure that whether it's a company or whether it's a brand, social media is actually representative of its customer base? What should we think about? What are some of the things that we can actually do? Rochelle, is there anything that comes up for you?
Yeah, so immediately, I think about like who is creating the strategy, like behind the scenes, to kind of speak to those people, because I could easily just say tone of voice, right? And like we need to be making sure that we're writing content that reaches. Like, but it's like, well, who are the people that are creating that strategy and making sure that the tone of voice is correct? Because if they're not representative of the people. Or if there is no representation of those people within those teams, then actually it doesn't really come across as authentic. And I like I say, I work in a social media agency, and it's really interesting because our client is a Jamaican-run brand, so we have to be very, very clear about like when we're writing copy on socials, like it's so obvious if the people that are not kind of writing that content are reflective of the actual community that drink the rum, right? So from my opinion, just kind of seeing what that looks like in terms of the inside of the agency and who's in those teams and how we hire in. My role would be how do we hire in those people, and how do we ensure that they are aware culturally of like what they're contributing to in a very authentic way or lived experience way, and then how do we give them the skills essentially, I suppose, if they're not necessarily from a a marketing background. So one of the issues that I kind of face within my industry is, or one of the things that we want to do is hire non-traditional talent. And a lot of that is about hiring culture fits in, not in the way that we're probably used to hearing the phrase culture fit, and then getting the right learning and development in place so those people can actually do the jobs to like a high standard, to someone who has had their grandparents in advertising and their uncles in advertising and all of the things. And so yeah, to answer your question is like, do the strategy teams and do the people that are writing the copy have some shared identity with the communities that they're marketing towards, and if not, how do you get those people in your business?
I absolutely love that, because you brought us back to another element of that foundation, which is actually the team that you surround with, and understanding also how to support them. And it might be that somebody else will also reach this, but I just wanted to say the power of also recognizing how some skills or strengths, they're complementary, they're completely unrelated to what we think marketing is or the marketing skills are. They actually can be so powerful because they can bring a different perspective. I think is one of the things that we forget about. And I know that we talk about it a lot also with Ren in her workshop when she teaches it for us. It's just understanding actually kind of like how your uniqueness can actually bring different strengths. So I love that, because it's something that we don't talk about enough. So thank you for sharing that. Ren, maybe you're going to go still on this path, or maybe you're going to bring us into more of a strategy that maybe you do with clients, or you kind of work through within your role. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, Rochelle, I completely agree with you. Number one, I always see it as you have the almost like in front of the camera and behind the camera. And so like you did, I love what you're saying about almost like who sits behind the scenes there. When it's coming to the content side of things and like almost what's in front of the camera, what are you seeing? I love this framework that I use it all the time. It's called the 3 Ps framework by the Unstereotype Alliance. And that stands for presence, perspective, and portrayal. And so when it comes to kind of depicting different community groups, it's really about, firstly, are you showing them? And are you showing them authentically, or is it tokenism? The second thing is then, are their perspectives involved in the creation of that content? Are you talking to the community? Are you trying to get a sense of, is this tonally right? Disability in one of like an incredible organization, they say nothing about us without us. And so it's that sense of go back to the community, check with them. And then lastly, when you put it out there into the world, is it an authentic representation? Like, are you portraying them in the way that they see themselves, or are you putting kind of an image that you have onto them? And so that's the kind of thing that I love to just, one, think when I'm creating content, but two, when I see content, I'm always assessing against those 3 Ps. Like, are we being inclusive here?
Absolutely love that. And actually, for everybody that might be, I like this, and they were like, so many great questions, I don't remember them. In the chat, we also put, and we'll put it also in the replay, by the way, we'll put like some of the resources that we're talking about. I put a website that I think is actually their website that kind of goes through the questions as well of the 3 Ps, which I absolutely love. So thank you so much for introducing some of us to a new framework. Give us a little heart if this was new to you, or you can do the little glass eye emoji if you already knew about it. I want to see where we're at. A lot of hearts. We're in the land. Oh, a couple of glasses. I love that. Thank you, Ren. Always teaching us something new. Vanessa, strategies. Well, what comes up?
Yeah, for me, I'm just hearing what Ren and Rochelle have been saying. I think it's just really important that when you're thinking about like how you're, I guess, communicating your brand, or how you're engaging with your community or your customers or your clients, right? I think it's just those little sort of nuances I think we sometimes can forget, and I think it's really important. So sometimes when we think about diversity and inclusion, for example, people sometimes think about it is in quite a sort of a narrow lens. They might say, oh, okay, it's about gender or it's about race, but there's so many other things that you have to consider. So I think, for example, when we're even at Girls Talk London, even though we cater to women, We also know that we have allies and advocates, and it's such a wide spectrum. So, for example, even when we're thinking about like using pronouns, we always try to make sure we say they or their in some of our sort of material, and also around accessibility as well. I think sometimes we can forget that. So, like, how accessible is your content, or your work, your projects, and that could be like from physical to like obviously, like, we're talking about social media right now, but it's things about people who are, for example, neurodiverse. They take in information in a different way. How are you making sure that they're able to engage? And then also, with the world that we're living in, everything is so intertwined, and I think we forget sometimes about language. Thinking about language, like, if you've got like, if we're using any kind of platforms, we try and see, for example, like, we produce a lot of toolkits, and like, we release them online, and we're trying now to find out like software and tools that can allow us to kind of really quickly transcribe it into different languages. And we're always thinking about like our reach and how accessible is it in terms of the language barrier. So I would just say, thinking about it from a holistic lens and doing your best to really take time to think about all the different demographics. And it goes from like even multi-generational, baby boomers taking information differently, to Gen Z, all of that. And you really have to kind of think about doing your best. You can't cater to all, but I think it's important to consider all of those things.
I'm gonna get a follow-up question from Vanessa. She's like, no. You made an excellent point there, and I'm thinking, and I love this because actually we started doing this organically as well. And I can also say, I don't know exactly what the split of our lovely attendees live especially is, but we're a smaller company, so in a way there's a benefit in actually the fact that we are a bit smaller and we're growing a bit slower because we can implement things. But I'm wondering whether it's because you are working with a lot of clients, or maybe you are a huge company, or maybe there's a big infrastructure. Would you say that is it better to start small and trying to kind of cover the different bases, or would you say it's almost like kind of really getting the education and an understanding about one area that you want to improve first? I know there is always a first case scenario, but there might be people that are like, I really want to do this, but I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. So if we want them to start small, what would be your suggestion for this, just to kind of get them on there?
You know what? I think it depends on what you do. And so I think I wouldn't say sort of start something, but I think when I talk to my clients and say they're very early on in their DEI journey, I always say, okay, the kind of simple things is maybe these three strands: gender, race, ethnicity, and disability. Like, if you're going to start somewhere, at least start with those three. Gender, I think, being, I guess, sort of like the kind of big area, and then maybe move on to race, ethnicity, and then disability. That makes it a little bit more easier. So I think just start there. So even if it's like a campaign that you've got and you're kind of thinking, don't overwhelm yourself, but just even thinking about the gender split in terms of, the people that maybe sort of are in the campaign, or even on the team in the project, that kind of thing. Start there, start small, and then gradually sort of work your way up.
Wonderful, thank you. Sorry, I threw you a curveball right in that. Reza, I'm gonna get to you. I just wanna let everybody know I'm a sucker for resources, and there's another favorite resource of mine. And because Vanessa mentioned accessibility, which is so important, and especially in social, it can feel again like understanding where to look. Accessible Social is a completely free website from an incredible social media manager in the UK. And she created it to kind of help with resources and support and places to go when you are building this journey of accessibility. So check it out. If you knew it, it's great. If you didn't know it, we generally go back to it a lot as well. And we also use it to educate ourselves and help our students. So great resource. And last but not least, I promise, I want to hear from you. Strategies. What maybe even things that you thought about implementing when it comes to your own work. I'd love to hear that as well.
Yeah, well, first off, I love what everyone had to say. And I feel like, I don't know about anyone else here, but I chronically sometimes am too much online for my personal reasons. And I think a good strategy that could be helpful for our work, our professional work, if you are a social media manager, if you are in the marketing team somewhere, whether it's a small team, big team, is like diversifying your social media accounts that you're following, essentially like making sure you are understanding what is out there, being aware of topic points, because essentially if you are more educated on these topic points, you will then be able to understand how you can implement those into your own topics, or making sure, you know, you're creating a strategy around that. So I would definitely say diversifying your social media accounts, for one thing, like educational accounts, because like impact is really great. Intersectional environmentalist is another account that I love and follow, kind of talking about the intersections of like everything as a whole. And then another thing I know Rochelle brought up, kind of like, you know, the people within the team being diverse themselves, and that is 100% true. It kind of starts with the team, making sure that that's authentic. And let's say it's a small team and you can't hire on new people, well, making sure that you can bring in BIPOC creators, influencers, paying them equitable, paying them well, especially because most likely, you know, there are inequities in the pay in terms of creators. So hiring outside sources essentially, and making sure you're meeting them where their demands are met in terms of their payment as well. And maybe having them create content as well for you, or giving access and voices for others to kind of join in on your community and your brand or your movement, whatever you're trying to push out there.
This is amazingly well kind of fitting into my second question, which is all about content as well. Again, coming with that source of content. So thank you so much for also bringing that. And I think what I love about what everybody said is that hopefully you have different perspectives on the different things that you can do that can build up. And I genuinely believe that all the different bits of the foundation and all the different things that we can implement then can help us when it comes to the strategy and making these decisions a day to day. That just happens because we're starting to build the infrastructure. Now, again, this is how I like to think about that infrastructure of marketing and how we can build on that. So whatever resonated, explore it. And hopefully we've got more for you to explore. I just want to share one quick thing for you. And this is kind of like, obviously what we want to talk about is, making that impact. And what I would love to see is kind of like where we are swifting in the little. So I'm going to show you something. Hello, everyone. We have a pool going on, and I would absolutely love to see how do we think we can add more impact to our marketing. And then we'll look at it again before we get into the Q&A from the audience. But, there can be plenty of things, but I would love to see kind of where we're standing, whether it's paying it forward, better showcase of values, more mindful practices, obviously when it comes to decisions that we make, as our panelist said. So just for you to know, you can vote now and you can keep on voting, and we'll see at the end where we're standing with that. And also, before I get to the second question, the final thing I wanted to remind you of is that we also do have a leaderboard. And so you've been interacting. The more you interact, the more likely you are to win our prizes. So you can actually get a full year of Planoly. So, among other things. So, keep interacting, keep sharing the love, ask questions, and obviously we love to see your comments. Now, after this little break, I will, one sec, do the right thing, hide it from stage, and I'm going to go back into content. As I was saying, I love that Reza brought it up because that was my second question. And this is, again, thinking about social media strategist or manager hat on. So how can we curate the content that celebrates diverse voices while still staying true to our brand message, especially when we might be that we're doing it for different clients? So what would be some of the things to bear in mind? Reza, I'm going to start with you this time.
Yeah, well, definitely kind of with Planoly, I guess, as an example, we are very, you can say female focused, and essentially with our branding, our website, our social media, but essentially we are wanting to be inclusive of everyone because it is a product for every single person that is a social media manager, content creator. So bearing in mind of like when we post content, we are understanding of like the resources we're putting out there to help social media managers, marketing directors, agencies, essentially within our blogs, our social media accounts, TikTok, and then, making sure we're listening to our users. I know our team does really well on this with like reading comments or DMs, reviews. And then we even do like, user-based interviews when we have the bandwidth, and we also kind of have surveys. So we take in as much information as we can, and then we give out. We actually just did a little rebrand launch on our website just this past month, so it's a lot different than it was in the past year. So it's really exciting to kind of see like how our brand is evolving, and trying to shift the needle forward, and kind of championing that inclusion within our strategies throughout all of social media and marketing.
That's amazing. And thank you for bringing your example as well. I know there's so many attendees actually are big fans of Planoly too. So I know that they can definitely see that within your content, and it creates great examples. I love that we got a lot of love. Like Marcella is keepers bringing the gifts back, which I really appreciate, I want to say. But I love the fact that people are already taking away so much. So again, thank you everybody, Jenny as well. Like, I'm so grateful that you're getting so many takeaways you can bring to your team. Vanessa, what about yourself? When it comes to content, what are some of the thoughts that came into your head?
Yeah, it's really hard because we are, with Girls Talk, what we do is with women, right? So we accept that, we're not going to necessarily appeal always to maybe men or even non-binary individuals, for example. And I think we have to be okay with that, you can't cater to every single person. Like, for example, some of the topics that we share on socials, they're quite humorous. They might not be appropriate for maybe those who are under 16 or 15, so I think it's just getting really clear on the audience that you serve, making sure that the audience that you serve don't feel excluded. So for us, we're serving women, but then we have to make sure, looking at it from an intersectional lens, we don't exclude women who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, those with disabilities, those from generational. We look at it from that lens, and then we know actually, because of what we do, we can't, our purpose is not to cater towards men, but there are so many other organizations who do it well. So I think it's just having that clarity of who you serve, and then making sure you're not excluding people from that community, because you can't cater to everyone, but just making sure that your community, your clients, those your stakeholders are not excluded from your content. That's what's really important.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. And apparently we even answered Marcella's question. I believe it was one about kind of understanding our niches. So I believe it was this one. So let us know in the chat if this was the one that we answered for you. And I think a lot of us will resonate with that, also kind of understanding and going back to our audience and understanding how we're speaking to them. So look at that, 2 bonuses in there. But I'm not done. I'm back with Ren. I want to hear from you, Ren, and then we're going to hear from Rochelle too, because we want to keep on coming. More incredible ideas.
So, Vanessa, I completely agree with you in the sense you can't serve everyone. And I think when you do try to serve everyone, your audiences very quickly realize that something isn't adding up. And I think that's when you start to get into the space where your content feels inauthentic. And I think it's when you just have that disconnect between what your brand stands for and the content that you're creating and the people that you're representing and the voices that you're shining through. I think when it comes to kind of portraying more diversity as a whole, there are so many facets to identity, right? Like, your identity isn't just your race or your gender. That, like, I love the idea of intersectionality, because that helps us get so much deeper into representing just really authentic characters and content and really connecting with people on another level. So I'm always looking at ways to start to create more deep content, if that makes sense. Like, just content that's going deeper, it's connecting deeper with our audiences. And I think that often, if you're just doing that at a quite shallow level, it feels tokenistic. And so that's kind of, I think that's a bit of a watch out, is that making sure that if you do want to have inclusive marketing and inclusive content, just keeping it really authentic to your brand. Otherwise, you do end up kind of just starting to go into that space of tokenism.
I'm going to repeat myself, but we got another question kind of answered or kind of like lead into. So I'm going to get, first of all, Rochelle's take as well, but then we're going to go back to this. And I might even go wild and say we might just go straight to the Q&A from the incredible attendees because they're awesome. So first of all, I'm going to get Rochelle to give you a take, and then we're going to get back to your point, Ryan, because we've got a question from the audience about that. Rochelle.
I feel like I'm going to, in some ways, repeat what was said, but just add maybe a little extra. I'm thinking about brands that, you know, have universal audiences of all types of people, and how they can potentially maybe take a risk by niching down into one community and telling their story like a content series. So, for example, pick or like Levi's, for example, right? So Levi's jeans is for everybody, but it's kind of like, okay, so what about, I don't know, stay-at-home mums that wear jeans? Like, how do they interact with, like, how do they wear Levi's? Like, where do they go with their Levi's? Like, I would love to see, I'm just literally making this on the spot, but it could be really interesting to see a round table of mums who wear Levi's just talking about it, right? And I think for me, it's about not excluding people, but then finding ways to tell the stories of lots of different groups, because, you know, on the intersectional piece, people have layers, and you can kind of really niche down without excluding people, but in some ways using that content to educate bigger groups about smaller groups, you know. I think you could do that in so many different ways, in so many different communities, and that could be like something that a whole brand could just take a whole year of content to create and reflect on. So I feel like everyone said that, but just in a different way. Just like a more specific example, I suppose, of how it could actually be actioned.
I'm obsessed with that. I think, you know, repetition is the mother of skills, and like kind of bringing back that point really kind of helps. So, you know me, repetition is the mother of skills. Team, I'm gonna go wild. So give me a little. Okay, let's choose the reaction. Give me a little clap if you're okay with me going wild and just going for the Q&A section and saying, you know what? Yeah, look at that. Powerful. Yeah, everybody. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions from there because we're kind of jumping into this, and then I'm gonna remind you of still a couple of things that we're up to. Okay, there is lots of things happening. Everybody's clapping in the chat with the gifts. Thank you, everybody. I wanted to do though, like obviously there are some terms that maybe some of us are new with. So for this kind of Q&A, my lovely speakers, I will let you kind of round robin. If you want to obviously give an answer and share, you just let us know because it's going to be easier, and obviously whoever has to give some wisdom can. First of all, though, who would like to help Marcella here and just explain tokenism maybe a bit more for anybody else as well that might be wondering about what that actually means?
Can I jump in? Guys, team, are we happy with me jumping in? I just put my hand up like I'm at school. So weird.
Obsessed.
But yeah, I guess I'm constantly battling with the definition for tokenism. I think at a very basic level, it's the idea of leveraging or almost trying to take advantage of a particular community group just by showing them without doing the work behind the scenes. And that could be either, you know, doing the work to make sure that you feel like you're portraying them authentically, or having them on your team, or, you know, talking to the communities, or, you know, servicing them with your product. I think that it's almost like just, I think I saw someone write in the comments, it's that tick box exercise without following up. But again, in the space of inclusive marketing, these definitions are constantly evolving. And so I just love to hear what other people think, because it's only when you start to really kind of chew on them with a group of kind of people who think differently, you start to create your own definition of what it might mean.
I think inauthentic, like it's like an inauthentic relationship with communities for like a tick box, like you said. And someone said, so would Black History Month ads be a good example? My response would be, if it's inauthentic, then yes. If it's not inauthentic, then no. And I think an example is that Gen Z is really, really good at picking up on authenticity, like really quickly, and calling it out. So I think if anyone has a thought about like what is inauthentic and what isn't, I ask a young person. Like they're able to tell you quite quickly if something feels real or not. But yeah, for me, it's tokenism is about essentially believing that you need to do something to showcase an uptick of like allyship when you actually don't believe it, and figuring out what faces can help you to do that, so it's like inauthentic, if that helps.
That's amazing. Anybody else who would like to add something in the chat? I'm also seeing some people say maybe like Black History Month hats, could be an example. So you can kind of see that people are actually relating with some of the examples they're bringing up. So if anybody else wants to jump in, if not, I'm also going to go into the Q&A bit. But that's awesome. And I think it just gives us a bit of context. So I'm going to get one question. You can vote your questions, by the way, everybody. If you're seeing some questions in the Q&A that you would love us to answer, then just push it up. Upvote it. I want to kind of do this one because actually it was highly voted and it came from our Slido. So we did a bit of a Slido before. So I'm going to show it on stage for us since we have the official question. Mistakes that we'll be aware of when it comes to creating an inclusive online presence. Some of mistakes or misconceptions. I really like to go into some of the things that maybe we think, or maybe the things that we're afraid to ask or to do, and just kind of give some examples and ideas, especially for people that really want to, kind of make that difference and kind of start that journey. So obviously everybody can share if you would like to. I'm going to stop sharing the actual question and then I will get who would like to start.
I guess I can just quickly join in because it kind of relates to the last question too. I know Rochelle brought up Black History Month, and a lot of brands may post, one thing for Black History Month on their page and then like forget about it. They don't talk about, Black history, or they don't talk about, they don't pay Black creators throughout the year. They kind of just like ignore it for the rest of the year. And I think that's something that could be a mistake. It's like, it's all year round. All these types of holidays and months that are happening, it shouldn't just be tied to 1 month. It should be 365 days a year, and it should be implemented in your strategy. It should eventually start to look more authentic, especially if you're doing the research and really paying attention, and paying, if you're going to work with creators, BIPOC creators, for these specific months happening, make sure you're paying them equitable. Something I kind of mentioned earlier is like really understanding where their needs are. And if your budget can't fit that, then figuring out an in-between or trying to do something else. Because those are simple mistakes I've seen brands do where they essentially can't pay creators, but they really want something and they want them to do the work, or they just talk about it once and then they kind of ignore it for the rest of the year.
Keep on jumping on if anybody else has anything.
Yeah, I'm too busy in the chat. I'm not doing it. I'm now
Vanessa,
I'm forgetting that I'm actually a speaker. I'm just two people in the chat. But yeah, we're just saying that, I'm just saying I'm not a fan of awareness months. I think they're just absolutely ridiculous. And even with Girls Talk, we don't do stuff for International Women's Day, because I'm too busy the other months creating gender equality that I've got time to dance around in March. No, like it should be, every day should be Women's Day. Every day should be Disability Day and so forth. And I think we're giving people and people, society, corporations a pass by saying, actually, you can treat people like garbage, but all throughout the year, but on Black History Month, let's treat, people from the Black community well, or, Disability Month is December. Let's think about that community. And I just think it's ridiculous. And I think it would be more, I wish more brands would be bolder and say, actually, we're not doing anything for Black History Month because we're doing this. It's every day for us. So yeah.
Just to build on that, I think where I get frustrated is when people only see inclusive marketing as their content that they produce and the content calendar. And I just as you're talking, Vanessa, I'm like, you're right, it's actions that really speak the loudest. And ultimately those actions have to be involved in your processes, in your, content creation, your brand strategy right at the front of it, as opposed to just thinking about it right at the end of it. Like, I need a post today. What should I do about it? And just Googling kind of what's like International Day is it? I think you have to think further ahead, because ultimately consumers, they're not going to connect on a day. They need kind of repetition. As we said, repetition is so important. And that's where you get authenticity, because it shows that you really stand for it.
Can I build on that, Ren?
Yes.
Oh, the lights have just turned off. I need to stand up in this. What's just happening? I don't know if they're going to turn back on. I'll just have to talk in the dark. On that, like, as the people person who looks after the D&I strategy and the people strategy within my workplace, it's kind of like last year we didn't do anything for Black History Month, and I'm like, to Vanessa's point, I'm of the belief, like, if you're not working on these things like all year round, then it's like the expectation is that the teams within the business can create content for Black History Month or Women's History or whenever it is, when you're not actually doing the learning internally as a company. So that means like the actual teams don't have the knowledge or the skill set to kind of authentically then create, because there's no learning and development to kind of like support that, and there's no strategy to support that, and there's no accountability internally, and do you know what I mean? So I feel like, I think it is actually, if I'm being completely like honest and reflecting in the moment, it is quite irresponsible to ask people to draw on some understanding of what any of these things might mean at any given month and create content to put on socials, when actually there's nothing happening internally as a business to support the learning and the ongoing learning for people to have even a baseline understanding of all of these things.
Thank you so much. By the way, I really hope you get some light. Bless you.
I'm going to turn it on, figure it out.
But thank you so much, everybody. And I love how you built up on each other as well to kind of bring that feeling. And just because I know that you're putting so much incredible ideas and also like all of your thoughts and also what you believe in, I just want to put something that Cam brought down because it made me really, really happy. So many are attendees, like, I mean, our speakers are awesome, but you're awesome too. I just want to let you know in the chat, we see you. Yay, Light is back. Cam, I feel so safe and heard in this space. Lindsay as well said, I appreciate this conversation. I have a lot to take back to my team. And I just want to remind us that it's all about starting and kind of like having these conversations together. And honestly, with the amount of questions that we're getting, we need to just do another one, which is all the questions that we haven't answered. That's literally what's going to happen. So thank you so much. And I would love for us to stay here for 6 hours, but everybody, I know there are other commitments, and answer all of them, but we'll make sure that we'll do our best to collect the questions that we don't manage to answer, and maybe, who knows, we can do something else again. But I genuinely love the fact that when you make sure that your strategy and your people and your team, at the core, there's the understanding of what your values are and how you want to support different people and different people within your audience. It really kind of builds that all year round conversation, which is so powerful. And honestly, the chat was lit with that because everybody resonated so much. So thank you for voicing what everybody was thinking. Team, I'm trying to literally follow all of your chats, but I can't. So I'm going to choose another question from the Q&A because there's so much goodness. So another one that we have, that I actually wanted to, it came up a few times, so I actually wanted to bring this one up. There's two ones. So this one is the first one. I don't know who has some thoughts on this. How do you balance championing diversity in your brand and stay away from performativism? Is it back to the tokenism, would you say? It might be that that's already been answered, or there's anything else maybe that you want to add, and or just for anybody that maybe is not fully familiar with the terms. Performativism, tokenisms, are they similar? Are they different? What are the differences? So I'm going to mark it as answer, and I'm going to let you tell me your thoughts about this one. Bam, bam.
Yeah, we had that with the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. So actually, people sometimes think it started off with the murder of George Floyd. It didn't. It had started many years before, and I think the Black Squares is an example of performatism. That company saw, oh gosh, Barclays have done a Black Square. Oh my God, we're HSBC. Let's do a Black Square. Oh my God, Nike's done a Black Square, and companies following each other in their sectors and not really understanding the depth of the issues that are being addressed in certain movements. So I think in order to avoid that, I think it goes back to what we're saying about sort of tokenistic D&I days. I think certain companies should have shut up during that I guess era, because we've seen now they don't really care. When you look at the tech layoffs, now a lot of the companies that were doing black squares, and I'm really steeped in this community, a lot of people that have been let go have been women of color. And so it's like, okay, so you did this whole kind of black squares, hiring loads of black women, and then they're the first to go. So I think it's around what we're talking about, being authentic and really thinking about who you are as a brand, and thinking, okay, I think it's great to speak out. Don't get me wrong. It's really important that brands and companies have a responsibility to speak out, but really think carefully around, are you best placed to speak out? What are you doing? Otherwise, I think it's important to just, stand back and be quiet, and maybe internally think about, what changes you can do. That would just be that's my take on it and my explanation.
I might jump in as well, Vanessa. I think I completely agree with you. Like, you want to avoid that performativism. Interesting word. I can never get it out. But ultimately, I just want to go back to, I can see a question in the chat, and I think it ties in a lot. And it's around like people ultimately being scared of like taking a step in the space. And I can sense with a lot of clients, they are also, they've got huge platforms, they've got huge opportunities, they can really pay it forward. And often they are concerned, is it our place to speak? What should we do? Oh, what if people call us out? And at that stage, I'm like, but look at the incredible stuff that you're doing internally. You should start talking about that externally and continuing to build on it. But they are worried because of cancel culture. And I think like cancel culture is something that more and more, I don't know, I get quite nervous with it, because I'm like, yes, people should be told to stop when they're in the wrong. But ultimately, I don't want that to stop people from thinking, if I'm casting for a shoot, let me get somebody who's a representative model. Like, can I get somebody of a different body size, or can I get someone from a different race, or, can I get someone who represents kind of gender fluidity? Like, completely. I think that there's so many opportunities and small things that we can do throughout our day to day where you do have control. And I wouldn't want people to be scared of kind of this cancel culture to stop them from taking any action to begin with. Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing it up, because I know I spotted as well that Nora wrote a question, and also then kind of she voiced as well, the voice as well in the chat. One sec, I'm going to make the match again. And I wanted to bring it up as well. So again, it kind of follows up with probably, Brandon, might be what you have seen. So Nora was asking about, how can you approach somebody when it comes to that like activism, but maybe they feel aggressive, or when it seems like nothing that you do or say is enough for them. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the conversation about cancel culture. And I would really love to hear what you think, because I think one thing I'm going to say, which I'm pretty sure most of us feel, I worked as a social media manager when I started, by the way, like 17 moons ago. I was like 13 years ago. And I actually, somebody who lives with depression, I was actually really struggling with like having to talk to people all the time when it came to social, because there was a lot of interactions with people I didn't even know. So I think that a lot of social media managers also kind of want to know and get the confidence to understand how to deal with different types of interactions. So I don't know if there's anything that comes up when it comes to that question, and some of my reflection that came up into my head. What would you say to somebody that might be trying to, do things, but they're kind of struggling with that feeling of, is it ever going to be enough? You muted them off.
I was just waiting. I've just been doing the talking, but I think just quickly on it, I personally think the work is never done. People say inclusive marketing, they say I've done so much for gender. Like, look, we've got gender representative content. And I'm like, gender is just one thing. Like, we need to be looking intersectionally, and also gender's not done. Like, it's never done. The definition of gender is always changing. So like, I'm always in the mindset of, it may feel like, you're only making a small step, but all of those small steps add up, and it only takes one person to really feel connected to your content to make a difference. And I think that's why I'm in it. That's why I love doing it, because ultimately I want to make people feel represented. I want people to feel like someone's thinking of them. So yeah, that's me.
I think to hopefully answer your question, Fab, around like how do you protect a social media manager, because it's a good point, like who might be neurodiverse or have depression or something, right? There's this, like, you're right, there's, if you're managing an inbox, you're speaking to a lot of people, you might be getting abuse in the inbox. There's like, there could be so much happening in there, you're just probably sitting at home dealing with it by yourself. I think from a people point of view, when I used to work in schools and like colleges, like one of the things that we did was like we had like individual learning plans for every student, right? So you get to figure out what are their needs and how do you make sure that the classroom, sorts that out for them. The teachers know what it is, and now I'm like working in more corporate spaces with adults, like we don't have those. And it's like, well, why don't we have an understanding of what the needs are? Because if it's it might be neurodiversity, but it could also be like a chronic health issue, right, that might be impacted by something to do with your actual role, that you can't actually physically show up. So I think that companies, where possible, can do better to understand the individual needs of their team. And in the example of, just off the top of my head, the example of a community manager or social media manager, like who's depressed and finding it quite intense online, it's like, is there then a layer of support that they can access to deal with that? So is it a case of, right, it's going to be a really busy month because there's a campaign happening and I'm going to be online a lot and I know that I'm going to get burnt out at the end of this, and then can I have access to therapy or coaching as a result of that? Like, is there budget that can be signed off to support that person's needs? So yeah, does that answer?
I love that. Yeah. And another thing I want to say, thank you so much, both of you. And obviously, if anybody else has got something else to add, but another thing I want to say, especially to Nora, I saw Lindsay as well. We're talking about, and I don't talk a lot about my mental health, funnily enough. So, but it's something that, a lot of us live with. We like these situations and this I call it like a navigation, basically, of like who we are. And something that you mentioned, Rochelle, that I wanted to relate to any freelance social media manager or small business owner that still has to deal with the inboxes. It might not be that obviously you have the team that can help you, that can sign you off, that can find the therapy, but I think you mentioned something that can apply to everyone. It might be that you just need to voice how you feel, how somebody, again, they maybe said something, or they maybe wanted you to realize that maybe something that you said wasn't, exactly the right way to put it, or maybe your wording, and you might feel at first a bit hurt or just a bit shaken. Talking and voicing it, I think, can be so important, especially if you're a very sensitive person. So if you have, whether it's your peers, whether it's your business buddies, just to kind of be like, this happened today and this is how I felt, I think it can be really powerful. So I don't know if anybody else resonates with that, but this is kind of how I feel. It's like sometimes, if you're dealing with that, just talk it out and share it. And then it kind of helps you also understanding maybe their point of view and where they were coming from. And it can really help you bring their perspective back instead of just holding it in. So yeah, little boulder moment there. All right. So first of all, before we get, I want to remind you of a couple of things. First of all, thank you everybody in the chat as well for being so understanding with everybody as well and sharing our experiences. We got Marcel already wants more, so I love it. But I just wanted to kind of share some of the love in the chat. Jenny as well, the variety of topics to be able to cover has been incredible. Amazing. That's incredible. Somebody also asked before if I can find whether you will have the video access. Yes, there's going to be 2 versions of the replay. We're going to get a replay out as soon as possible. And then we're also going to let you know when it's going to be also available a version of this on YouTube as well. So we want this to live on. So please share it also with as many people as possible so that we can start these conversations. And somebody also wanted to print the quotes. I'm not sure if I can get the full transcript, but I'll do my best because I think there's lots of things that we can learn in there as well. So I'll do my best with that too. Now, a few reminders. 1, Planoly has an amazing offer. So Reza, can you remind us of what's coming up as well when it comes to that?
Yeah, so we are first giving one lucky attendee a full year for free for Planoly. So we'll probably announce that very shortly. And then if you join this, you can use our code AMS30 for 30% off Planoly for a yearly plan. And then if you are a paid Planoly user, we are also offering a marketing scholarship course for Alt Marketing School. The application is currently live. We're going to give someone a marketing course, and really excited about that. We're actually going to start picking that soon, so we can put the form in the chat or in the post-event email as well.
Amazing. Awesome. I can see as well. Marcella has got the application open. Awesome. Steph put both the links in the chat. She also put the links for all of our incredible speakers in the chat. We got to fix Vanessa because we changed the name. So I saw that. So make sure I also fix it in the email replay because we changed the handle. But we also have gathered the Q&A. So we'll make sure that we see if we can answer any more questions in the future. Maybe we do a round 2. I'm going to close the leaderboard just to finish off before we kind of get one final maybe resource that everybody would love to recommend that people can check out after this webinar. So first of all, drum roll, please. Wait. Wow, that was a great drum roll. Thank you, Ren. All right, our winners. We have 3 amazing prizes today. I'm just doing it now. Thank you for clapping, everyone. Claudia, our own amazing Claudia, she is one of our marketing rebels from our student community. So Claudia won our 3-year Planoly. Marcella got, I think it's our marketing dashboard. So one of our dashboards. So from All Marketing School, we do them in Notion, and you can use it for your business, for your team, for your company. And Jimena as well won our social media toolkit, I believe. So don't worry, I'm going to take a screenshot, everybody. So don't fret, so that I remember. And we'll be in touch with the next steps for everybody in the next couple of days. So well done, everyone. Let's give some love to peeps. Yay, everybody. Awesome. Look at them. Look our speakers clapping. Now, first of all, thank you again. Thank you for you, speakers. Thank you, Planoly, for giving us a chance to do this. I'm a bit emotional because it's been amazing and the response in the chat has been incredible. So just saying. Thank you, speakers and friends of the school, because you're awesome and we appreciate you and we wouldn't be able to do this without you. I say all the time. Thank you in the chat for being so lovely and active, and we really hope we give you something to think about. Final words of wisdom. What would be one resource that you would want to leave our amazing attendees with? Ren, you first.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I'm on the spot here. I should have prepped something other than the 3 Ps. But my favorite framework, and I live for frameworks. I make them up all the time for my job. The 3 Ps, if you can remember anything, it's just those.
Love it. Vanessa, what about yourself?
Yeah, I would just say intersectionality. Just think about all the different types of people that you want to engage and support.
Rochelle.
I would just say to repeat, stay authentic, be authentic, and ensure like all of your content is, giving authenticity.
Reza, but not least.
I would say diversify your content. I love that we're talking about intersectionality. Intersectional Environmentalist is a great account. Impact is a great account. Just try to change it up and get as much as you can. Research, absorb, and reflect.
Well, team, can everybody give us the final round of claps for our amazing speakers? Go crazy in the reactions, everyone. Yay, look at that. Oh, thank you so much, everybody. We will have the replay for you soon, even if for some of us it's almost the end of the day. And as we said, we'll keep you updated also when we have another public version. We would love for you to share this with as many people as possible. I already saw a couple of people saying next session. We'll send you an email from Alt Marketing School. I want to kind of pick your brains if there's any other things you want us to cover within this topic, because we want to bring up more conversations and more people. So keep an eye out so you can help us coming back again with more. Thank you, everyone. You have been amazing. Thank you for the gifts. I also appreciate that a lot. It's one of my pet peeves. But it was lovely to have you all. Have a good day, evening, week, whatever. Sending lots of love, and thank you for being here with us. Bye, everyone. Woo! me see if I can end the session.